The depletion of water is an issue affecting the world. The Earth has a finite supply of fresh water stored in underground reserves, surface water, and the atmosphere. Mismanagement by humans, pollution, global warming, and increased population and agricultural production is putting a strain on our water supply. The Middle East is currently the first area that is suffering a crash of fresh water, hindering their standard of living and leading to more conflict. It is said that Yemen's capital, Sana'a, is expected to be the first major city in the world to experience full water scarcity. Yemen consists of 28.25 million citizens, and about 19 million citizens lack access to clean and safe drinking water, which accounts for 2/3 of their population. Yemen has no rivers, and there has been a decreasing amount of rainfall every year, requiring them to be heavily dependent on groundwater. Excessive groundwater pumping in Yemen is lowering the level of the water table by 10 to 20 feet a year. There are 5 main causes that lead to the depletion of water in Yemen. The first being their high populations. Yemen has one of the fastest growing populations in the world. With an increasing population, there is an increasing need for water, further depleting their water source. The second factor is ineffective agriculture production, as the production of agriculture uses 90% of Yemen's water source. Due to subsidies provided by the government, it made groundwater irrigation very cheap, which allowed Yemeni farmers to switch from spade irrigation to groundwater irrigation. But groundwater irrigation is not sustainable, as it takes time for aquifers to recharge. The third factor is the production of khat. Khat is a narcotic drug and a water-intensive crop, as it uses 50% of Yemen's water source to produce. 1 day's supply of khat for a single user requires 500 liters of water to produce. The production and sale of khat accounts for 60% of Yemen's GDP. But the crop itself has no nutritional value whatsoever and is draining Yemen's water source quicker than it can replenish itself. The fourth factor is the Yemeni war. It began in 2015 when the Houthi Shia Muslim rebel movement seized control of Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, and other neighboring areas. Water infrastructure has been targeted by warplanes and bombings, as a total of 727 water pumps and tanks have been destroyed since the start of the war. The fifth factor is the lack of law enforcement on water use in Yemen, as currently there are very legal policies regarding how much water is allowed to be extracted every single year. This makes it possible for illegal wells to operate in Yemen. It is estimated that 99% of water extracted is unlicensed and that currently 800 drilling rigs are operating in Yemen illegally. As well, there is no specification on how many wells are allowed to operate in Yemen, as well as how deep and how frequently wells are allowed to drill for groundwater. Currently in Yemen, only a tiny number of households are connected to the municipal water supply. The water that comes from these taps does not run continuously, as it can come out twice a week or up to once a month. As well, the pipes used are old, and an estimated 60% of water is lost through leaks and holes. Citizens who are not connected to the municipal water supply have to buy water from private sources or depend on humanitarian aid to provide water for them. Between 75 to 85 residents of Sana'a buy their water from private sources, as they are not connected to government infrastructure. Private water distribution comes from private wells and the use of private tanker trucks to deliver the water to household consumers. There is an absence of water testing and truck inspections for private tanker truck companies, which causes it to be a prime location for water contamination and the spread of waterborne diseases. Citizens of Yemen are being taken advantage of, as they are paying high prices for private water that they are assuming is clean and safe to drink, but in some cases is actually carrying deadly diseases. In the Pope's encyclical about the environment, he talks about the issue of water, including the depletion of this natural resource and the ability to obtain clean drinking water. He says, access to safe, drinkable water is a basic and universal human right, since it is essential to human survival and, as such, is a condition for the exercise of other human rights. Therefore, there should be no reason why Yemens are denied this access and basic necessity of clean water. This is linked to the worst cholera outbreak ever in Yemen. Cholera is contracted from infected water, and about 2,310 people from April 27, 2017 to July 1, 2018 have died from cholera, and there has been 612,000 cases of people being infected. The Yemeni government is not fixing or rebuilding the destroyed water infrastructures from war because it is costly, and they are currently preoccupied with fighting the current war. If people were to donate to humanitarian aids that help out specifically improving Yemen's water scarcity issue, it would help greatly. Some organizations include Oxfam Canada, International Rescue Committee, and the Hague Institute for Global Justice Project. The Hague Institute for Global Justice is developing policy recommendations for the prevention and the resolution of water-related conflicts in Yemen. They are specifically working towards improving the law surrounding water use in Yemen and making them easily understandable to the public. Some current recommendations they are implementing are supporting and teaching local farmers about the regulation of groundwater and assisting them to grow alternative sustainable crops instead of cat. While this project has great ideas to make changes about water governance in Yemen, they do not have a formal plan, such as specific rules and regulations they can present to the government in Yemen and the National Water Resource Authority to demand change. A possible way to better this project would be to formulate their general ideas into a clear action plan that would then be presented to the Yemeni government. In conclusion, the depletion of water in Yemen is an imminent threat to the livelihood of those living in Yemen. There are various causes that are leading to the depletion of water, as not one person is to blame. Action needs to be taken now from the government and Yemen citizens to correct their depleting water source before it's too late, as it can possibly become the first country to run out of fresh water.